Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this really fun and cool design for a special dad in your life, or papa, whichever. But this design was actually inspired through a photo that I had seen last year on my VIP group in Facebook. This is Miss Aelesa Howell's design, and I was totally inspired by it, so thank you so much for the inspiration. As always, I'll make sure to put everything that I used today down into the description box below so you guys can shop those items if you would like to. So let's wake up, prep those tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. The first step we're going to do is we're going to get started on the water look on the bottom. Now I already have my tumbler here. It's all prepped and ready. It's just painted a basic gloss white. I also have some rubbing alcohol on hand, and I also have some alcohol inks I'm going to use, but I ended up using just one blue. I did pull out two blues, but I ended up just using the one blue there from Tim Holtz. I believe that is called Mermaid. I almost forgot that my other blue there has little spectral spirits in it, so it has little shimmery particles in there, and I didn't want to add any type of glitzy glitter to it, so that's why I went ahead and just used the one blue. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my blue and I'm just going to go do streaks all the way around. I'm just rubbing it down really well. I'm just using a paper towel. You can obviously use your sponges or brushes or however you guys like to apply your inks to your tumbler. You just want to fully coat it in this blue. I'm just doing this completely abstractly. There's no right or wrong here, guys. You just want to cover it. That's all you want to do. And I'm just kind of doing it almost how I would do my wood grains. Now, once I have this fully coated here, we're going to come back through and just add some more details before we start applying our epoxy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my ink and I'm just going to start making stripes, and then I just take my paper towel and I just kind of dab. I feel like it just kind of adds a little bit more character to the water. You're not really going to be able to see it too much after all the epoxy and stuff is added, but I just feel like the parts that you do see, it really does give it just a little bit more depth. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of do this completely around where I just kind of dab it and streak it along. Okay, now the reason why I used alcohol inks instead of using just blue spray paint was because I wanted to be able to add these little specks of the rubbing alcohol all over the tumbler. You guys know if you take rubbing alcohol and you kind of spritz it on there, it's going to make these little, it almost looks like bubbles to me. And I just felt like it really needed it. I mean, it's completely up to you guys. Again, there's no right or wrong when it comes to making art. This is all you guys want to do for this first step here. Then after that, we are going to give it a nice coating of our 2x Ultra Clear by Rust-Oleum, which I'll show you guys here in a second. I have it already all prepped. I sprayed it down with my clear gloss. There we go, there. And now we are going to give it a nice coating of epoxy. You guys want to make sure that you give it enough epoxy so that way when we move on to this next step, everything that we're about to do has enough room to shift around and move. If you don't add enough epoxy this round, the inks and stuff won't move and they'll just sit still. So you definitely want to add just a little bit more epoxy than you normally do, so that way everything that we're about to do can shift and move and do its thing. Now, right after I am done applying my epoxy, we're going to take it out to the turner and we're going to start doing the next step right away. Now for this next step, right onto that wet epoxy that we just applied, I'm going to take some Pinata Blanca, and I'm also going to take some more of that Mermaid alcohol ink, and we're just going to put dashes all over our tumbler. It doesn't matter where they go, however you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do about 2 layers of these, and as you can see there, I was just sprinkling it right on, and then I came through with the white and did the same exact thing. Then after I'm done applying all of this, I'm going to pick up my fancy blow dryer and we're going to move everything around just a little bit. Now, when I am applying my heat to my tumbler, I just want to do very quick motions where I just get everything kind of moving and doing its thing, and then I back away, because if you apply too much heat to your epoxy, that's when fish eyes start to form, and we definitely don't want that. So just get it moving around. Then you want to step back and you want to take a look and see if it's going to need any more of your inks, which mine did. So I'm going to come back through here in a second after I get everything moving, and we're going to add one more dousing of our inks all over the tumbler. But this step is so extremely easy. I know you guys got this. It is almost like doing a beach tumbler in a way. You just want to make pretty water scene underneath our peekaboo that we're going to be doing. And I wouldn't recommend using any type of torch to move your inks around as well. You don't want to set anything on fire because these are alcohol inks and stuff. So don't use your torch to move your stuff around. You want to use a blow dryer is what I like to use. So now that that second layer of inks was put on, again, I'm just going to take my blow dryer, get everything moving around, and then I am just going to walk away from it. I'm going to let it do its thing. I'm going to put my blow dryer down and let it cure overnight. And here is what it'll look like the next morning. You have a little pretty water scene to apply all your fish to. Now you can use any type of fish you would like. You could use ones from the ocean. You can use freshwater fish. I mean, I don't know anything about fish, but I just used these ones. These ones were pretty common up where my dad lives. That's why I used them. So I will put down in the description box below where I got those from. And I actually printed those on my clear vinyl sticker paper, which is a little bit different. All you have to do is simply print it right off of your inkjet printer, cut it out and peel it off and stick it onto your tumbler. There's no need to use any type of sprays or anything to seal it beforehand. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my little fish all cut out and then we'll be ready to apply them right onto our tumbler. Now that my little decals are all cut out, all we're gonna do is just kind of make groupings of our fish. Now, as you guys can see, I made them all different sizes. I kind of flipped them as well because they came all in one direction. So I made sure to flip them and make them look like they're going in different directions. But all you're gonna wanna do is make groupings of your fish because we don't need it all over the tumbler. Unless you wanna put it all over and just kind of, figure out where the fish are when you go to do the peekaboo. But however you guys would like to design your tumbler, I know it's going to be absolutely amazing. So I am just going to finish up putting all my little groupings of fish. And as you guys can see, when I use the sticker paper, you kind of have to press really hard to do it. And I definitely recommend doing it right over an epoxied surface. You don't want to do it right over top of any type of alcohol inks or anything like that because the alcohol inks will disperse under your image and that won't look very nice. So make sure that you guys have a nice smooth epoxy surface anytime you apply any type of water slides or vinyl sticker paper or anything like that. And of course, after you get your groupings all down, you don't want to forget your bottom. You got to dress that up too. So I'm going to apply this one last fish. I'm going to flip it over and we're going to put some on the bottom as well. Now, after I get all done applying my decals, I'm going to come back through and just make sure all my edges are pushed down really good. You can't hurt these vinyls. Just make sure you rub everything down really good so that way no little edges are poking up. You want to go ahead and apply another coat of epoxy right over top of your fish here so that way we have a nice smooth surface when we go to do our peekaboos. And I like to let my epoxy cure for about 24 hours before I apply any type of paints or anything to that. You don't want it sticky at all. You want to be able to simply wipe away what we're about to do. So you want to make sure it is nice and cured before you move on to that next step. Now, in order to make it a little bit simpler to find the fish, the first time I did this, I just kind of freehanded it and just kind of lightly sprayed around the fish, but it was still kind of hard to see them. So now I decided to take some tape and just kind of block off the areas where the fish are. I'm just using a simple painter's tape, but you guys could either put little dabs of hot glue down. You could use removable vinyl to kind of help you out where you block off your areas. The painter's tape did seep up underneath a little bit because it doesn't fully seal around those edges when we go to apply our alcohol inks, but it turned out to be okay. I was okay with that, and I'll show you guys how I fixed some of the spots that were just a little much on it. But if you guys want to, like I said, use your removable vinyl to kind of block it off or anything like that, just to make it a little bit easier to find your fish, or if you guys went ahead and did the entire tumbler with fish and you guys just kind of want to simply wipe away wherever you want to, you could do it that way as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of block off my fish here. Then I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to spray paint it white, or you can actually do beige to kind of go with the wood look as well, but I like the way the white looked. So again, that's completely up to you if you want to do a brown or a beige or white over top of our tape. So after I painted that, I let it sit outside for a little bit. You want it to not be tacky at all, especially in the summertime. That humidity makes it feel a little bit tacky. So I let it sit outside for about 30 minutes and then I bring it inside and let it dry for another 30 minutes or so, just so it's not tacky. I have my little 2-inch chip brush that I like to use, and I also have some teak wood. And now we're ready to apply our wood look to our tumbler. Now we're just going to do a very simple, basic wood look. I'm going to go right over the tape and everything. I'm going to go ahead and do a stripe from the very top to the very bottom. I like to make little swishes and make sure I hit the bottom really good. And then I just come through with really fast motions up and down. You don't want to go side to side too much. And then just sweep that ink along until it starts to dry. Now, when I move on to that next stripe, I just butt it up right up against my color before. I do the same exact motion where I give it a little swish, hit the bottom up a little bit, and do the up and down motions really fast. And I'm just going to complete this look completely around the tumbler. And then after I am all done here, we're just going to come back through and kind of touch up some areas. That's one of the things I really like about alcohol inks is you can always come back through and touch up and add more layers and whatever you need to do. These inks are just so fun to use and really add a lot of character to your projects. And of course, I am going to finish up the bottom like how I always do my wood looks. I really like doing it this way because I feel like it looks like a log. I don't know. I like it. That's how I've always done it, and my customers have always liked it. So all I do is I just take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and make swirl motions on the bottom, and it looks like a cut piece of wood to me. So now that we are done doing that, now we're going to go ahead and peel up our tape. And like I said earlier, as you guys are going to notice, some of that ink did seep up under that painter's tape because, like I said, it doesn't fully seal down, but that's okay. We're going to come back through. We're not going to fret about it, and we're going to make it look nice either way. Now for this first step, to make it look like it's a ripped peekaboo through to the water, I'm going to be using some 100% acetone. I'm showing you both of these. One, the Nouvelle, I got from the dollar store, and the Onyx I got from Walmart. Either one of those work just fine. As long as they're 100%, it'll be just fine. I'm going to take my paper towel that I was using earlier. There's no reason to get a new one. I'm just going to be wiping stuff off with it anyways. And I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of my rubbing alcohol. Now for this first half, there's going to be some smudges, there's going to be some craziness happening, and it's going to be okay. We are just getting our lines together. That's all we're doing. And as you guys can see there, I smudged it up a little bit further than I wanted to, but that's okay. I'm just going to simply come back through and just very lightly keep rubbing at that white until I get it about down where I want it, because you want it to look like the wood is broke away from the tumbler. You want it to look like it was chiseled or chipped away. So it's okay that some of that white is exposed underneath. I feel like it just really adds to it and makes it look even more interesting. Another thing I made sure to do was to keep it all going in the same direction. So I didn't go side to side or anything with it. I just kept those lines up and down rather than swishing it side to side, so that way it all kind of had a uniform look to it. Now again, you can take away as much as you would like, or leave as much as you would like. It's completely up to you guys. But you definitely just want to be very careful and kind of go a little bit slower than you typically would when you would do any type of peekaboo. You want to make sure that you just very gently roll right up into your paint, so that way you're only removing just a little bit. And don't worry too much about cleaning it up, because we're going to come back through with our rubbing alcohol and clean up any little paint smudges that might be left behind. And of course, as I'm doing this, I'm trying to be very cautious as to not to touch where the alcohol wood look is. But if that does happen, it's okay to come back through and touch it up if you need to. So I am just going to continue to do this completely around all my little splotches that I made, doing the same thing where I just extend out if I would like to, or keep it smaller if I'd like to, just exposing those fish right underneath, going around completely. And then right here is where I am all done. I got my bottom all done, and I'm just going to finish this up. And I'm going to move on to my rubbing alcohol to clean up all the paint that might have smudged onto our fish. Now, as you guys know, the acetone is going to remove our paints very quickly for us, but the rubbing alcohol is there to kind of tidy up and not remove as much of the paint. So that's why I like to do this two-step process. Now I'm just going to take that and clean up all the insides, and I'm even going to wipe away around the white edges just a little bit, again, being very cautious as to not touch my rubbing alcohol to our alcohol inks, and because it might make it smudge, but that's okay. Again, if it does do that, just come back through with your brush and kind of touch it up and then clean it up one more time. Not a big deal. Now, there were a couple spots of that alcohol ink that seeped under that I wanted to remove. So all I'm going to do after I get done cleaning it up here, I wanted to clean it up so that way there was no paint that would get scuffed into the epoxy. That's why I waited till the end to do this. I'm just going to take a little piece of sandpaper and I'm just going to scuff away the areas that I don't want so much of that alcohol ink on. I actually kind of felt like it looked like pieces of like seaweed and stuff like that, but I didn't want too much of the fish covered up, so that's why I went ahead and kind of rubbed some of these spots away here. Now, after I rub that away, I'm just going to take it and I am going to wipe it, that area that I did here. I'm going to wipe it with some rubbing alcohol to remove any type of little particles or anything like that. And there we go. Problem solved. And once we are all done with that, we are going to give it a nice coating of our 2x Ultra Cover by Rust-Oleum. That just really helps out so that way none of these inks or anything bleed or smudge around when we go to apply our epoxy. I'm going to give it another coat of epoxy. I'm going to apply my decal if you would like to apply your decal. Then 2 more last finishing coats and he is good to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.